So I am Leora from Womankind and wishing you a warm welcome to the Cyclical Living Unwrapped series, which is where we explore the gifts and challenges of cyclical life with experts in the field of menstruation and perimenopause and cyclical living. So today I am thrilled to be doing my very first interview in this series with Natasha Richardson. So welcome, Natasha.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So Natasha is the founder of Forage Botanicals, which makes natural remedies for periods and menopause. She has a BSc honours in herbal medicine and runs a successful clinic for over 10 years before writing her book, Your Period Handbook. Now she has a team that takes patients while she focuses on product development and community relationships while that other job of raising her son and daughter. In 2021, she graduated from Oxford University with a master's degree in design history, where she has investigated women's medicine from 1850 to 2010, which feels like a whole other conversation in itself, Natasha.
Yeah.
Oh, really want to know about that. So yes, welcome, Natasha. And yeah, we're going to dive straight into some inner seasons explorations here. So
Right.
I'd love to know what your summer superpower looks like.
I usually find during my inner summer season that I am very focused. I can kind of replicate that now with a decent matcha latte for about half an hour. But I did try and find like inner summer lasted for a bit longer, probably like two days, maybe 3 days if I'm really lucky.
Okay.
But the only downfall to that was that I would tend to say that yes, I could do everything and anything, and realize that the high didn't last long enough to do all the things I would commit to.
Okay, so that's the next area to think about in here. Is that what trips you up? That sounds like okay, too much.
Yeah. And it took me a few years to like kind of realize that I was doing that and to start to use my knowledge of like cyclical living to understand that high didn't last long enough and that I needed to sort of pace myself a bit better and maybe agree to a little bit less or to give myself a bit more time to kind of complete them.
Yeah, it's an interesting balance, isn't it? Particularly when you've recognized that you can't superhero your way through every day. So, yes. So okay, so how do you support your autumn self?
Well,
Particularly if that summer has tipped over.
yeah. So I used to find before kids that supporting my inner autumn was fairly straightforward. I would choose to have time alone to myself in the house, and have kind of duvet day, pajamas, try to do very little and just have space and time to think. Now that I do have kids, though, it's a bit more complicated. There is no time to myself in the house really. So it's turned into more of a can I get myself out for a walk without the kids maybe, so that I've got some time to myself to think. In between my two kids, when my eldest was old enough and I was studying my master's, the bus ride to Oxford used to be my time to myself. I would really look forward to. I just like love being able to look out the window and not feel guilty about not doing housework or something, which is what would happen if I was in the house. So it can be something really simple that I didn't even realize would have been my me time. But yeah, just time traveling by myself is so nice.
And that's it. You've hit the nail on the head. The simplicity. It doesn't have to be complicated, does it?
No.
Oh. Okay, so that's your autumn. That's your premenstrual phase. And yeah, well, again, another conversation. Cyclical living with young children is a whole other ball game.
Yeah.
It's a hugely other ball game.
Yeah.
So yes, full respect.
Don't always get to do what you want to do every month, and
No.
but it can be helpful at least to know what part of your cycle you're in, so that you know why you're being so short with everybody or whatever it is, and give yourself some grace.
Give yourself some grace. Yes, that is massive. That is huge. Thank you for saying that. And actually, it's a really, I mean, with your children being young, it's a really great learning curve for them as well. I mean, they will grow up with a cyclically aware mum. What a gift that is. Huge gift to them as they grow older.
Yeah, I saw recently that you can buy fridge magnets for fam now, so you could be charting, you could be having your chart on the fridge for everyone to see, which I love that idea. But I always wanted to be able to have like one of those like spinner things for the seasons.
Yeah.
I thought like everyone, all the females of the household could have a spinner that they can be like, today I'm in my autumn, and sort of declare it without having to say all the time, like, guys, I'm premenstrual, can you just lay off?
And actually, to be fair to the folk who are not female, for everyone to have that.
Everyone, right? Yeah.
Everyone. Let's just have a seasonal spinner for everyone, and just to
Yeah.
that simple language to be able to communicate with each other.
I think that's such a cool idea. Like I've often said, like people talk about menstrual leave and like whether women should have time off work for their periods. And I've always like said they brought it through in a few countries, I think Spain and maybe France. And people are like, this is so great. And you'd think that me as a feminist, that I would think it was great as well. But I really feel like just everyone should have flexible work in the first place, and everyone would benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the crux to all of this education, is that how helpful is it that only the people who are menstruating know this information?
Yeah, it's become it's limiting, isn't it, if it's not.
Yeah. I think, you know what, gradually I think we're getting there. Gradually. Which is okay, so that's great. So okay, so here's a question for mum with you, for an awareness of your cyclical living, living it with young children. What does rest look like for you?
Rest looks like childcare. Like the closest I can get to rest with the kids around is that they are so enamored with whatever it is that they're doing, that I'm not worried about them getting into some sort of like mess or something dangerous or whatever, that they want food soon, that kind of thing. But I tend to find that really no matter if they're around, it's almost impossible for me to not be spending some mental capacity on their well-being. And even when then, it took me literally years to feel like I wasn't thinking about my eldest, especially when he wasn't around. I do think that your brain must change somewhat as a parent, that you've always are constantly thinking about somebody else all the time. Yeah.
You're switched on.
Yeah. So it really takes a lot of my mental focus to not be spinning that wheel in the background, when really I'm here and I'm now, and I have to trust that my kids are all right with whoever it is I've left them with.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Trust
for
is
me,
key.
it's rest is equal to childcare, and then within that, I don't know, it's different each time. It changes depending on my mood, the amount of time that I have available. Like, it's very rare that I can just be like, oh, I've got infinite amount of time, so I'm going to spend the next 3 hours just figuring out what I want to do today. It's very finite, and so you're constantly there's this constant battle of like, how much can I fit in this time? If I do that, does that make me feel like I had more time or less time? Because if you try and fit lots of stuff in, it whizzes by. If you
Juggling
try and do just one thing for maybe the 3 hours that you've got or whatever it is, then suddenly it feels like you had more time. Yeah.
Yes.
Funny like that.
It's a movable game. And as you described earlier, your trip on the bus to Oxford,
Yeah.
looking out the window.
You can't do anything else. It's brilliant. It's like literally like tying someone's hands and being like, you relax now.
Okay, all right. I've relaxed. So there is a question, I guess, that I can piggyback on that often comes up in the menstruality world, that if you were to strip back all of your commitments, all of your take away parenting, take away work, take away all the other commitments around you, what would rest look like? What would you love to rest look like then?
I really love going camping or staying in nature, really pared back, like like shepherd's huts, that kind of accommodation where it's comfortable, there's not more than you need. So there's almost no housework every day because you've just got a plate that you ate from and you put more food in it, and then that's that. Someone would come and feed me wholesome food. I wouldn't have to do any cooking or cleaning. What else? And read a book.
List is long.
Just read a book. I'd love to be able to sit down and read without feeling like I'm really rushed to fit it in.
Yeah. Okay. So the rest wish list is there for sure.
Yeah. For now, every 6 months, all of my presents now, birthday and Christmas, is the same present from my husband. I've said, just don't buy me anything different until I change my mind. But he gets me tickets to a spa in London, which is so low down. There's no phone signal. You're not allowed phones in at all. And it's completely dark. It's only lit by candles and the light that goes through the pools. And it's lots of different temperature pools. Some are like whirlpools, some of them are blood temperature, hot. There's a salt pool. It's all pools. It's amazing.
Going back to water. Okay.
Yeah, that's so for me, that's like my treat. And I do that every 6 months, and that keeps me going.
Okay. That's extreme rest. That's wonderful. And I love
yeah, I come out and I'm like, I'm a new person. I've had all these epiphanies about how I should be ruling my life. Yeah, it's great.
Gorgeous, gorgeous. So we've come out of that time of menstruation, that winter time. What are start with, what challenges do you face when you come out of the menstrual time and head into spring?
So now that I'm a mum and I don't always have the capacity or ability to rest as much as I would have liked, usually the challenge is that I'm not rested enough and I'm hitting spring already tired. Okay. And so there is still an element of like, how do I get rest? How do I get rest? And it's a constant question, I think, for most people. How can I get more rest? And it can literally be like as little as how do I make sure that the next 5 minutes of this tea doesn't get interrupted by somebody, and I can sit down and have this cup of tea to myself. It's as simple and small as that. Now that I'm a parent, when I wasn't, I'd be like, oh, spring, I can start my journaling and write down all these wonderful ideas I've had and figure out how I'm going to action the points that I've come up with. So different now.
Yes, it's and it does show that the importance of rest. So and again, and you've used the word simple again. It's like, how can I make that cup of tea last, that experience of drinking tea last and feed you. So I really hear that, but it can be as simple as that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So okay, hearing that it's challenging, how do you plug into joy? Does joy show itself in your springs at the moment?
Yeah, I do get a lot of joy from doing wholesome things for my kids that I find rewarding. And it's taken me a while to like realize what those things are. Like, they're not necessarily what I would have thought. I don't know how else to explain that really. And I have, with my second child, who's 5 months, taken on board a lot more help with her than I did with my son. That's partly because she can take a bottle, he never could. So that's a huge difference. Yeah. And because it took me so long to get time to myself again with my eldest, it took me a long time, and it made a huge difference at the time. When I did start to have time to myself, I just did not realize what I was missing until I started to have time to myself again, because I've always been someone who needs time alone to think, to process. I'm not very good in like groups for long periods of time. And even living with just one other person, with my partner, I really I still need space to myself to think straight.
And
so
spring brings that out in us as well, doesn't
yeah.
it? It's a tender time, so
Yeah, it can be very
hearing that. Okay.
It used to be that spring was like I really hit the ground running. I'd had my rest and I was ready and raring to go. And spring would happen very quickly for me. I would only spend maybe like a day in what I would really call true winter, where I was bleeding and I didn't feel like I wanted to do anything yet. And then after that day, because it was a day full of pain for me for a long time, once the pain subsided, which could be within the first like 24 48 hours, I was like, this is great. And I could still be bleeding, but it wouldn't be heavy and it wouldn't be painful, so I felt amazing all of a sudden. After having my eldest, that was all really different, and I haven't had my periods back yet because I'm still breastfeeding.
Okay.
So we'll see what it's like now.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Because it can be different after each. So, okay, we'll stay in touch.
Yeah, definitely. I always felt like with my clients that it's almost like their reproductive system gets reborn with every child. Like the cycles change so dramatically between each pregnancy. It's crazy.
A lot has happened in that to our bodies and psyches and nervous systems. So
yeah, absolutely. Like right down to your genetics now, they know that we take on genetic information from our partners with every pregnancy, and that never leaves us. So yeah, it's really interesting.
More conversations. Okay. Oh, well, thank you for taking us through your season. So please do share how viewers and listeners can find out more about your work.
So the most active place that I am is on Instagram. You can follow us there at Forage Botanicals. Forage is in foraging for plants, and botanicals in plants.
Yeah.
Sometimes people call our company Forage, which
Oh dear.
deeply upsets me.
Oh, that's a
But
sign of the times.
only the Brits would understand why.
Yes.
And maybe
So
some Europeans.
it's Forage Botanicals.
Yes.
Okay.
And if you send us a message on there, it's actually me behind the account. We only have one employee and a few freelancers, so it's a very small team still, doing what we do. So yeah, generally speaking, it's me that you speak to.
Which is always lovely for potential clients as well. So
Yeah, and you know, it means that I can make really nice recommendations when it comes to the products, and then if it's getting too complicated, then I can forward on to our herbalists that we have in the team as well.
thank you. So the word simplicity has come up so beautifully several times throughout our chat here. So that segues so gorgeously into just letting everyone know that if you are interested in exploring your own inner seasons, and you're navigating perimenopause, you might enjoy our free womankind workshop that's coming up, and it's called Towards Simplicity, and it's the 4 essentials to simplify your path in perimenopause. And it's a 90-minute free event, and it starts at 7 p.m. UK time on Monday the 4th of September online. And there will be a recording if you can't make it to the live. And actually there's a really gorgeous gift bag with a visualization, a very nature-based visualization to use when life gets overwhelming. And that's for anybody, whether you can be there live or not. So if you go to woman-kind.co.uk for more information, you can have a read and book yourself on if that feels good. And actually, Towards Simplicity, we'll be launching our new Womankind self-directed online course called Perimenopause Unwrapped. And for more information on that, please head to woman-kind.co.uk. So thank you for hearing that you are in your summer of life, in having children. Haven't spoken about perimenopause, or if how near or far that feels to you, but
feels like it might be around the corner with the people that I speak to these days, realizing how early it starts to happen, honestly.
But harnessing those inner seasons in the summer of life before hitting perimenopause is the roadmap to how, can often be the roadmap to how your perimenopause and menopause experience actually pans out. So this is completely and utterly and wholly relevant to everybody who will be heading down that path at some time.
And thankfully I get in my line of work, I get exposed to a lot of wise hag types that I can aspire to one day.
It's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, well, thank you. Thanks ever so much. And we will see you soon, Natasha. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Laura.